I read a headline today about Pope Francis, of course, the head of the Catholic Church, that said this Pope is not your grandparents' Pope, and that seems to be holding true. Pope Francis elaborated on his vision for the Church in a lengthy interview with an Italian Jesuit magazine. In the article, Pope Francis warns that the Catholic Church's moral edifice might, and this is a direct quote, fall like a house of cards if it doesn't come to terms with its divisive rules on abortion, gays, and contraceptions, with a greater need to make the Church a welcoming place for all. We wanted to talk about how these statements are being interpreted and also heard right here in Vancouver. We are happy to be joined by Paul Schratz. He's the Communications Director for the Archdiocese of Vancouver. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is a very, very interesting man, Pope Francis. First of all, what are your impressions?
We're in agreement on that. It's hard to keep up with this Pope. He's really raised the bar in terms of ensuring that we're paying attention to him, and by we, I mean everybody. I mean, the people who work at the Chancery here at the Archdiocese, right through to the people in the pews, right through to non-Catholics, right through to radio hosts. Everybody seems to be following what he's got to say.
Have you seen that effect directly within the Archdiocese here in Vancouver in terms of conversations and people engaging with the Catholic Church in a different way?
Oh, sure. Non-Catholic friends that I have, they talk about how interesting it is to see what he's doing. I was on Facebook today, and a non-Catholic pastor was commenting on how fascinating this Pope is and how we're all of a sudden paying attention to what he's got to say. And I think it's obviously got a lot to do with the way he's saying it. Popes have been saying things for a long time, and Pope Francis seems to be finding a new way of doing everything. And just as McLuhan said, the media is the message. I think we really do have to pay attention to Pope Francis and the way he's doing it, because so often the message is the way it is presented, and he's telling us we need to find new ways of presenting the message.
Well, and his personal background is fascinating as well. His background both within the Church and his life before and throughout the Church as well, and his touch with the common person. I mean, his nickname in the media has now become the Cold Call Pope, because he will just call people that have questions about faith, about the Church.
Best Pope ever. I saw one headline, last week, and which is saying something of 2,000 years of popes, whether this is the best one ever. But we get it. We understand what's going on here. Is he's forcing us to sort of take our blinders off, and I think it's important to remember that this is, as you say, a Pope with a different background. He comes from the New World. He comes from Argentina. He was there with a priest. He was a bishop of the people. He worked with them in the gutters, and that's where he's comfortable. And he's telling us, you've got to sort of shake the dust off and get down in the gutters too. And remember, that's where the people are. The people are not always in books. They're often out in the real world.
Yeah, and not necessarily always in the church either, and in the pews. Paul, let's talk a little bit about interpretation of statements like this and how that flow works within the Catholic Church. Within the Archdiocese of Vancouver, when the Pope makes statements like this or he opens up conversations like this, what is your role in that conversation?
Well, I'm learning as quickly as you are, Mike. When we receive something like this, we don't get a heads up that this is coming. So we're looking at this with fascination the same way you are. Sometimes scratching our heads, trying to figure out what's the subtext, what's he really getting at, and everybody is free to sort of put their own nuance on it. This is not an infallible teaching that's being presented here, but it is sort of his throne speech, if you will. He's delivering the message of what he wants to see the Church become in the next few years under his pontificate, and it bodes us well to listen and maybe take some lessons from what he has to bring to the Church.
Does it affect your direction or the thought process right away, or do you take the time to really have that conversation and say, look, what's applicable to us where we live in our city and our culture?
Well, certainly, everybody has to take this in their own comfort area, I suppose, or their own, where they perceive it to be influencing them. I may receive it a little differently than a person in the pews, but we're all looking at it and saying, how does this apply to us in our lives? And I think it's important for us to say, well, how it's touching me in a certain way. Personally, I can say, I'm going to take a new look at the way we're delivering messages. I'm going to say, is there a way that we can reach out with more compassion and with more joy, in the sense that he's asking us to deliver? And I think that might be something that we've been lacking in the last few years.
Well, he certainly does convey joy in all that he does, and it's fascinating to watch. I want to talk a little bit about how you're reaching the congregation and increasing your exposure, I guess, to more people that may not be within the Catholic Church through specifically social media. You mentioned Facebook and being on Facebook today. The Archdiocese of Vancouver is very active in social media. What brought this on?
It goes back, I'd say, about 10 or 15 years. We were one of the first archdioceses to be involved in a major way online. We've always had a columnist dealing with web and online issues in our weekly newspaper. Our weekly newspaper was the first Catholic newspaper to go out with a digital edition about 10 or 12 years ago. So I don't know. Maybe we've always just been blessed with bishops who gave us the green light to explore technology. And more and more often in recent years, the popes themselves have called the church to go out and use technology. You have to be where the people are, and increasingly that is where the people are. Now, not exclusively. There's debate about how realistic a community you can have online, but certainly the Pope is tweeting, the Pope is setting the lead, and it's up to us to take advantage of the technology as a gift from God and make use of it as a way to reach out to people.
Well, and I've looked at your Facebook page many times, and not only are you doing things like posting applicable or interesting content there, which is part of it, but you're also really engaging people in a conversation, which I think is fairly novel within a lot of archdioceses across Canada and around the world. That is a portal for conversation, just like if people were attending church.
We are learning from the technology as well, and one of the things we realize with social media is that we can't be the top-down sort of dogmatic institution, especially online. That's not what the technology is about. It's about an electronic community, and we want to be out there with people. We don't censor comments. If people have grudges, if people have questions, if people want to disagree on things, all we ask is that you keep it civil, and you're welcome to come on and challenge us or to join our community.
Very nice. Well, people can find you on Facebook. And do you guys have a Twitter handle as well?
We do. It's now I'm stumped. If you go to our website, rcav.org, you'll find everything. All our social media are listed right there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and continuing a very interesting conversation about a different kind of Catholic Church. I think we really appreciate your time, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks for your interest, Mike.
All right, cheers. Paul Schratz is the Communications Director for the Archdiocese of Vancouver, and you can quite literally find him on Facebook, and you can also find him on Twitter as well. We're going to take a break.